Well, well, well. We are back. Hi and hello. Welcome to Shek Show. We're ready to roll. It's been way too long, at least a week or three too long since last week kibitzed. It's time to make up for that with my main man. There's Eddie Spaghetti and his Florida Mance behind the glass in his usual spot, and Kevin Hench seated high atop show business, ready to break it all down for you. A tumultuous show business it is. Speaking of tumult, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They they're getting a little sideways. The defense ain't playing so good, even though the head coach said it might be historic this year. So far, historically poor. Great news, Steelers fans. Here's a sentence that always will make you feel excited. We're headed to Foxborough. Right? It always goes well when we head up there. So let's talk about it. Kevin Henry excited for Drake May, the Steel Curtain, and then obviously we have some other stuff to talk about too.
Well, it's like as we do on this show, we always go like, who of the three of us is the most miserable?
Mhm.
And even though the Giants figured out how to lose that game to the Cowboys, there are signs of life. Patriots with a thrilling victory in our house of horrors, Miami, where we never win, and then like the Steelers, as we've said, it's like, what is this Band-Aid, this stopgap, this ancient QB? What are we doing? And then it's like, as we've said all summer, it's like you're either going for it, like we're gonna fuck Tom Brady on the Bucks, like we're gonna try this, or you're kind of wasting a year. And so I always watch football as I know all of us in the community do, where you're like, oh, that buddy is bummed, and oh, my friend over here. So like on shifting gears, my buddy Carrick is a Bears fan, and it's like, wow, I'm sure he thought the season was going to make it to October. Like, I'm sure he thought we'll make it to October, right? It's like, nope, irrelevant. Don't worry about it. It's not going to, you don't have the guy, and neither, coordinator ceiling. Yep. That's he's not taking you to the promised land. And then I have a buddy, camera guy, Damien, who's a huge Broncos fan. And it's like, oh, they can just fucking call leverage anytime they want. Like, it's like the whole point of penalties is like, well, obviously, if the left tackle didn't hold him, he would have sacked the quarterback and that touchdown wouldn't have counted. So we have to call a penalty. If the guy didn't block him in the back, the kick returner wouldn't have been sprung. That's why penalties exist. Fucking Colts kicker lands a 60-yarder in the front of the end zone. The fucking leverage has no bearing, none, zero. And then the fucking ref 40 yards away goes, I'm going to decide the outcome of this game. What was there an advantage game? Did the guy did he leverage himself and tip the kick? No. In fact, all of the bullshit leverage calls we've seen over the years have never led to the block kick. They've never, you see what happened there? He launched off the center and he blocked the kick. No, it's just like he set his hand on his shoulder and then I decided the game. So like I literally had to hug my friend Damien. Like I saw him. I'm like, come here, buddy. Bring it in. You got fucked so hard by the fucking refs who will eternally suck, obviously. And then you watch the Texans Bucks game and they throw the flag and then they're like, oh, we're just going to pick it up. Like, oh, so that block in the back is going to go away. The field goal that landed in the end zone, let's give you a try from somewhere inside your range. So fucking Broncos fans got fucked beyond belief. And then I'm watching the Giants fuck themselves. And I'm like, obviously my move is like Brandon Aubrey, always the best player on my fantasy team. So we all know, except for the Giants coaching staff, what Brandon Aubrey's range is. But the Giants go, hey, set up a curtain. Where? Right where his range is. Just get right, like make sure they don't get, like, what are you doing? Like, they're not going to score a touchdown in 25 seconds. So why are you standing here? Like, play defense. So then I'm like, oh, Spaghetti must be losing his fucking mind. This just went from the greatest victory ever to a fucking kick in the nuts because the coaching staff, your NFL coaching staff has not heard of Brandon Aubrey. They have one job. They have not
but like we've talked about a million times on this show, we have pointed at it. You get credit, Hench, because as I have invoked, myriad times now, it's got to be 20 years ago at least that you wrote for foxsports.com a piece about the kickers are out kicking the coverage of the strategies for the sport. It is, I'm trying to think, like, Bob
The
Knight
whole
used to
point,
talk
like,
about the
Tom Dempsey.
three-pointer is gonna, but Bob Knight used to say, like, the three-pointer is gonna kill basketball. If you go too hard at the three-pointer, it disrupts all. And we survived that. And the same thing with the DH. But the kicker is fundamental and yet anomalous for the rest of the sport. I've advocated, as you know, we should only have head-on kickers and ban the sidewinders. And I'm only half kidding about that, because right. The game isn't supposed to go that way. You're not supposed to. What were the
Yeah, you
Giants?
can't
What were
get
I
you
get
can't
it, but
get
what were the
half a
Giants supposed to do? What were the Giants supposed to do? Like, if they give up, like, the reaction, if they give up a
Well, you
touchdown, if the
saw
ball
where
gets
they
thrown
lined
over their
up. You
head,
saw where
I'm
they
just
were
saying, if
lined
the
up.
ball
What do you
gets
mean?
thrown
What are
over
they
their
supposed
head,
to
then
do?
what?
Like, they're like, just give them this. It's like, I mean,
I know, but
again,
if it goes for a touchdown,
Brandon
then it's
Aubrey
even
didn't come
worse.
out of the fucking mists like fucking like a Roy Hobbs figure. Like, we all know who he is. But to
We
your
got to
point,
talk about
you
Redford
can't
too.
get,
Thank you for the reminder.
yeah, you can't get half a touchdown for getting the ball to the 50-yard line. It's completely out of hand. Anyway, so I knew Spaghetti had an anvil dropped on his nuts in that game. And then I know you're watching your team in real time try to learn the kickoff rule. Hey, I know we don't play the starters in preseason, but this guy could be coached up a little bit on the rule, right?
There's no one in my lifetime who I've ever spoken more with how loco it is that as a society, we just sort of like, whew, can you believe it that they don't know that there's not a sixth quarter? Like, when the guys ask at the end of overtime, like, wait, that's it? It's just a tie? Like, you didn't know that? Way worse than that is when you are specifically the kick returner, a professional football player who's on the kick return. So the standard is raised beyond any preceding level, obviously. Your job, you're getting paid millions of dollars to stand back there in part and return the kick. And you don't know the fundamental rule. You have to field the ball. And you and I have talked about this in regard to a rookie running back on the Pittsburgh Steelers, Barry Foster, in 1990 in Candlestick, did the exact same thing Caleb Johnson just did. The Steelers, the proud franchise, now has two examples of two boobs who didn't know the kickoff rule. Yikes.
So the Steelers obviously were awarded a touchdown on Gibson's fumble in week 1 on a kick return. So they're appropriately 1-1. They're like 1-1 is just right. And the Patriots
are
0-2
is much more, like, they are much closer to 0-2 than they are to 2-0.
Right.
That's for sure.
And the Patriots are too. And in fact, when the Patriots pulled out that victory on Antonio Gibson's kick return in Miami, it was thrilling. And then Tua with a couple terrible throws against a not very good defense, just like last night against the Bills with the one terrible throw to end the game. But then after the Patriots beat the Dolphins, and I'm like, you start to get hope, and then you watch the Raiders play the Chargers, and you realize how terrible the home loss to the Raiders was. You're like, oh my God, this team is awful. We could not get them off the field. Like, it's like the Patriots. I was so excited for this Patriots season, as you know, and it's like the defense is not good. Like, I don't know how you sign Milton Williams, you get Barmore back. I know Gonzo hasn't played yet, but like, I just thought, Harold Landry's been decent, but I just thought we would be game wrecking. Like, it would just be like, it's like, nope, we're slow. Spillane, I don't know if he weighs 300 pounds, or I don't know if it's because he's wearing Steve Grogan's number 14, but he's slower than Steve Grogan. He's like, watching Spillane chase A-Chain was like, it was such a drag to go, like, this guy was supposed to, transform our defense, and he cannot be on the field. So anyway, the big range of emotions, win or lose, you're like, we know how our friends are feeling at all times on Sunday. Because, and by the way, I was texting with my buddy Shu, who was at the Bills game last night, and I'm like, obviously you have the sorcerer at QB, but on one possession, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 3, your defense sucks. It can't get off the field. So yes, Tua threw the ball right to you. Congratulations. But good luck in that AFC Championship game if you need a fucking stop, because those safeties are garbage. I don't know how, I'm like, Bishop and Rapp, like, these are your safeties in the NFL? You're a contender? Anyway, so I don't know. Somebody has to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. And after 2 weeks, those Chargers look good.
I agree with that. That's why I wisely predicted them to win the AFC West. Big one coming up for them against the Broncos. That will go a long way. I know it's just week 3. And what you're getting at is the sort of like the math that you do. It happens more in college football than in the NFL. But when you only are a couple weeks in and you only have a couple 60-minute samples to look at, yeah, you do kind of go like, well, I mean, maybe Justin Fields is good and the Steelers weren't ready for him, and that's the excuse for this week. And then you get another sample and you're like, oh, maybe the defense isn't good. There's a lot of that, like, where do we stand? Like Jets fans right now, maybe our team is worse than the Dolphins, given that the Dolphins were able to hang with Buffalo on Thursday Night Football and all of that. And you're trying to rationalize and make sense of what it all means. Side note, I think it's lovely, Eddie Spaghetti, that our friend, our fancy pants friend there, Hench, above the line all the way, is hugging dirty cameraman. Damien, congratulations, Damien. Of course, that's not Hench's way. He's a man of the people.
Man of the people.
Of course, that's who Kevin Hench is. He was out there marching on Thursday, or out on the streets because of the free speech violation that is the removal or the suspension or whatever it's called of Jimmy Kimmel Live. I mean, I don't know how much time you want to spend talking about this. You and I, Hench, are fairly close to it. Obviously, we've known that we've been, I guess, loosely on some level part of the Jimmy Kimmel Live, a part of Kimmel-Lot for a quarter century now, or at least attached to it and run with a lot of those the people over there. So, worrisome about this specific chapter and what it all means and all of that. I mean, and the concern for the people, as many have said, and I think it rationalizes, like it allows them to move on from the situation. Like, Jimmy Kimmel's rich. He's going to be fine. Even if we accept that that's true and, if this is in fact the end and all that, I suspect he will survive. He employs a lot of people. So does Stephen Colbert. Same thing as when people shake their fist at the quality of the latest Adam Sandler movie. Keep in mind, he's employing a ton of people, keeping them going in a real rugged industry. And so all that set aside about the concern about the people that we know and have known for a long time now, to me, it's very straightforward. I get that it's a big bait and switch. It's a bit about the consolidation of the elite class versus all the rest of us. But the way it's sold and the way you get sign off from a portion of the American populace is like, it's about free speech. We can't have this. Bottom line is, do you believe in free speech or don't you? That's it. I mean, like, to me, that it's that simple. What impacts the average American, not the people, what they're doing and selling it as a free speech related issue, and is this hate speech and all of that? They're doing it because these affiliates have massive juice where the late night game is, and they're trying to dictate that because the FCC commission asked them to do it. That's all pretty straightforward stuff. But as it impacts all of us, do you like free speech or not? Like, I mean, do you want it or not? It's very simple in my book. Anyhow, hey, how say you? And credit to you for using your voice, as they say all the time. I mean, that's what it's about, right? You went out there and represented your side of the argument.
When I was out there marching on behalf of free speech, which were, which I use to talk about how fucking terrible that leverage call was against the Broncos, even though they're not my team.
Amen.
Although I
Speak.
do have a bet. I did have a personal interest. I have a long-term bet against the AFC South. I want the AFC South has to win fewer than 30.5 games. So I need, that Colts getting awarded a victory that in a game that they had lost that was over. That was a real gut
Don't
punch.
you rain on my Colts win the AFC South parade. It's underway,
They're still
friend.
gonna win it. They didn't need that one. But anyway, so I'm out there at Disney, protesting the stifling of free speech. And then this chick from Business Insider comes up to me and she's like, "Can I interview you for Business Insider?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Give her my name. And then she's like, "Why are you out here?" And I'm like, "Because I believe in free speech." Like, what? By the way, this FCC clown, I don't know if you've seen his tweets, but like, he used to believe in free speech. 2023, he was saying that free speech is like the only thing between us and authoritarianism. Like, yeah, I agree with 2023, but anyway, so I said to her,
I mean, it's all out in the open. There's no vagary. There's no smoke hiding. It's just there. Just make your choice. Which do you want? Do you like the free speech or do you not?
Free
Right.
speech
That's
for me, not for thee. But then
Right.
I think I kind of surprised her, and she's like, "Well, how does this impact you?" I said, "Well, I'm a comedy writer," and I said, I don't think we should be writing comedy looking over our left shoulder or our right shoulder. Like, it's insane that James Bennett got fired at the New York Times for running an op-ed piece written by a United States senator. Like, a United States senator had the view that we should send in the troops to break up the Black Lives Matter protests. That's his position. By the way, no matter how the New York Times newsroom felt about that's not an insane position. There were a lot of people in America who held that position, not in the New York Times newsroom. So they fired James Bennett, and then Barry Weiss quits in protest. Now we're saddled with Barry Weiss for the rest of our lives, by the way. She could be running CBS News. Oh, well. So it's like, yeah, we can't have the wokes telling the New York Times or Jimmy Kimmel or me what to say. And we can't have the MAGAs telling Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert what they're allowed to say. That's not a free country. That's not free speech. So it's grim, obviously, that this is the trash compactor that I've been yelling about for 10 years, which is these walls are closing in on us. These people say you can't say these words and you can't say this. And then these people over here say you can't be critical of the maximum leader. And it's fucking grave. Pretty soon you're not going to be able to yell at the referees for ruining football.
Oh, now you've gone too far. Now that's too much.
Imagine if Hockley's kid gets elected president. My whole fucking shtick will be over.
That would be the Hench nightmare. All right. I mean, we can go on and on about it. I mean, I feel like we're right at the edge. Either we go for 3.5 hours on this subject, or we veer into some fun sports talk and maybe some Bob Redford stuff as well.
I mean, let's talk sports or Redford. Just because I don't, it's like every once in a while on a fucking sitcom, it's like we do some heavy thing, and I'm like, guys, we're not curing cancer. It's a fucking sitcom. Come, please, can we just tell some jokes? So it's like I'd much rather bitch about. I mean, obviously, I believe in free speech, but the people who come here come for bitching about the refs and our teams and our decrepit old quarterback. In your case, by the way,
which one are you talking about? The one who now is starting to turn the corner on the limitations of the other decrepit quarterback. And by the way, we talk about like, what does that result over there 2 weeks in mean? Russell Wilson looks fine. Justin Fields did not look fine in week 2, but he got bonked on the head. But he looked good in week 1. And George Pickens looked good in Big D in week 2 in some big spots there. Back to the schizophrenia that is the Pittsburgh Steelers 2025.
I'm sure Spaghetti will back me on this. Russell Wilson didn't look fine on the last throw of that game.
No, that was miserable.
Sort of reminded me of his last throw in a game against my team.
Once it was overtime, the magic wore off. I mean, that was like, he had throws in that game like multiple times. Well, I almost did not want to watch the game because of the Notre Dame game the night before. I was just completely
Oh,
fried.
we're
I'm like,
getting to that one,
and I'm
friend.
like, I don't care about football anymore. I hate that my life is just encompassed by sports. I picked a terrible career path. I should have been a loser who liked comic books when I was 5 years old and not played a single sport. But anyway, watching Russell Wilson like throw these deep balls to whoever it was, neighbors or Slayton or Wanda, like it's just dropping right in those moon balls as you call them. And I was like, I expected every single one to be incomplete. It shows you how awful Dallas's defense is, number one. But that, I mean, I mean, I was pro Aaron Rodgers going in for the Steelers. I was high in the Steelers week one at least. I mean, he looked like he was MVP Aaron Rodgers again. The zip on his ball, like someone that play action touchdown. I was like, man, oh man. And then in week two, we go and see Russell Wilson what he does. Like, I don't know if that matters for the Giants, like because people, I mean, Jackson Dart finally played a few in a few packages they had. The New York media already kind of turned on Russell Wilson. They were like, all right, we're ready for Jackson Dart. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't understand why you want him to play there in front of this offensive line where you have 2 point whatever it was, like 3 seconds to throw the ball. Your left tackle who's filling in for the injured Andrew Thomas had 4 straight penalties. Like, why are you putting Jackson Dart in this mess? There's no weapons really outside of neighbors. The run game has been kind of whatever. Scatterbo had a couple nice plays, but and then defensively, you know, and Hench was just talking about this too. Like Shane Bowen has no idea what he's doing. Like on that field goal, even if it is Aubrey and you expect him to make a 65-yard field goal or 64-yard field goal, whatever it was, just the defensive game plan they had it was just brutal in both games. And Dayball on that Hard Knocks clip where he's like on his phone and he's like showing like John Mara. He was like, look at his stats, man. NFL.com. It's like, like, are you joking? Like, is this so the defense is a nightmare. And they drafted Abdul Carter and they have Thibodeau. And you have Brian Burns, and they're not even playing snaps together. Like, I just don't know what this team is doing. So I'm very close to being checked out of football by the end of this weekend.
You know, the
It is
kicker
true
thing
when you
is,
have three dogs, like those three pass rushers, right? It's always rotational, but like you're like 3rd and 12, like put all three of them on the like who's like
Abdul Carter played inside off-ball linebacker at Penn State. Like, he is used to it. I don't, and the old Giants teams, when they had like Kiwanuka, Strahan, OZ, JPP, they always found ways to like put those guys in. They would play like, they would play the middle. They would play the 3 gap instead of playing the 5 gap. Like, I don't, this whole organization, as long as John Mara's kid, Chris Mara, who is a Kevin Abrams and McConnell is the other guy who's all in their front office, they have been the mainstay since 2012 when the Giants have just been on a steady decline. They have to remove them from the front office, and they never will because they're attached to the family that owns the team. That is the problem. They're terrible at scouting. They're terrible at picking people to run this team. And then going to see, you're talking about Indy for a bit, seeing what Daniel Jones is doing. People blame
that's what I was
him.
just going to bring up to you.
It could not be
This is
worse.
exactly what I'm talking about with George Pickens thriving in Dallas. It's a black eye for Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan up in Pittsburgh. How do you feel now with Indiana Jones looking good? It has the double whammy effect. It's not just we let that guy out of the building. If he's a better version of himself than what he was under the QB whisper, the alleged QB whisper of Brian Dable, well, then why are you holding on to him to coach up Jackson Dart? It feels like, although the Miami Dolphins, if you look at what they have upcoming here, there's a chance that they win 3 out of their next 4, and then things won't feel as dire. It does seem one way or the other, though, especially after that terrible ball out of Tua in the big spot up in Buffalo. Like that, it's got to be a wrap on that era. What I contend is, as I've said to you, is I feel like Dable is obviously it wants to keep Russell Wilson in there as long as he possibly can. So he can say like, well, I'm working with the kids.
Which I agree with.
Don't pull the plug on the project right now. You got to maintain the transition from 25 into 26, right? Right, Mara? You can't replace me now. You'll be ruining the kid. You got to keep me. As opposed to if Jackson Dart starts now and after a month we're like, ooh, thumbs down. He stinks. He's Desmond Ritter. Well, then that's it.
You would ruin him.
But the point is you would ruin Dable's future in New York.
And
if it's like, oh, the guy who I wanted apparently stinks. Oh, okay. Well, then that's it. It's enough with you, Brian Dable.
To Dable's good fortune, it sounds like the Giants front office probably doesn't follow the AFC, so they don't know that Daniel Jones is dominating. Daboll had his quarterback.
I think I've come around fully. I was kind of souring on Dable a little bit last year, and now I realize like the problem is Joe Shane and the rest of the Giants front office. If you go and look at like the Giants draft history since Shane's been there, and it was awful during Gettleman too, but at least Gettleman did hit on Saquon and he hit on Dexter Lawrence, and he's a few other guys that are popped up, but there has been no impact players, and I understand that like. When you're in a draft slot where Evan Neal is considered the best, like, offensive lineman, you have to take him. If you don't take him, the next team will take him. I get you have to take the guy who is best player available, but, like, he doesn't pan out. Tibbs has been fine, hasn't been a super impactful player. In fact, getting Brian Burns is a way better move. Probably the best move that Shane has done. It's just, there's not, like, Deontay Banks was their first-round pick, the corner out of Maryland 2 years ago. Like, he's been awful, but god-awful. They signed a bunch of guys and traded for guys in the defensive backfield this year, like Holland and Adebo, and they have not been great. Like, it's just every move that he has made has not been good. And
you loved last year Neighbors and
Neighbors is awesome.
Tracy.
Tyrone Tracy's a nice find later rounds, but like he hasn't really done much so far this year. And you can't when you don't have an offensive line. How they are so inept at building an offensive line, which shows you how important it is. And I understand Andrew Thomas is injured, although Marcus Mbow came in and he played pretty well because Hudson, they took him out of the game with the 4 straight penalties. But talking about Daniel Jones, like, look what in Indianapolis, like, way better offensive line. Obviously, you probably have a future Hall of Famer and Quentin Nelson, anchoring that line. But then you have Jonathan Taylor behind you. You have some nice weapons, Pittman, Downs. They go and draft Warren, the tight end at Penn State. Like, they gave him weapons, and then obviously Shane Steichen is an offensive wizard. So you have like a great surrounding group, and like the Giants just never done that. So I don't want to see Dable gone too early because I think that he is like he's not the one drafting. He's not the one really making the free agent decisions. Does he weigh in? I'm sure he does. But as we've seen in Hard Knocks, like I don't think what he says really matters. Like I think it's up to what the Mara family wants. I don't want him gone and then go somewhere else and then he becomes again like the old Dable we're used to. So I think he's in a miserable spot with a team that just cannot build a roster. So yeah, once again, I'm not really looking forward to watching much more of the Giants.
By the way, Shek, I believe, starting Tyrone Tracy 2 weeks in a row in fantasy, right?
I wanted to talk about the state of the cool cats after Toe Burrow's sad event in week 2.
Well, that's okay. Who was your backup quarterback?
Well, I tried to get, and by the way, I'm excited. You're talking Indiana Jones. What about Indiana Menjonza against the Illini this weekend? Let's go. Hoosiers favored to win against a ranked team in Bloomington. It's all happening. Very exciting for Coach Sig. I thought that because in our fantasy league that we talk about a lot, that you bid on a free agent every Wednesday night. You bid on the available free agents.
Right.
And you have $100 pool of money to use over the course of the season to get them. So I always advocate that early in the season, spend all your money. There's not going to be somebody like, oh, that guy's on the waiver wire and it's week 14. That all the valuable pieces will have been scooped up weeks and weeks in advance. So I spend big. I figured $26 would be enough to get me Indiana Jones. Then Tony Barbieri and Kyle Bauer swooped in and got him for 27. So now I have to go out and pick. I had to go and get Matthew Stafford, which I don't think is a terrible short-term play.
Listen, so I went through this whole process when I saw, you and I were the last 2 bidders on Joe Burrow. I was, he got real expensive in that draft, and I was like, fuck, I can't go. I don't like spending on QB.
How about this? 24. Is that what you're getting to? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to spoil your story. No. Give everybody the number that he went
24. For. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to cobble it together with Kyler and Dak, some version of that. So then when Burrow and JJ McCarthy, obviously not a good fan. He had already established himself, not a good fantasy option.
Oh, that's exactly. Well, listen to you getting over your skis about something. You had 6 quarters of evidence. How do you know what JJ McCarthy? So you don't know if he's stunky. He's like all young QBs. They run a lot and they make you fantasy.
But it's not gonna.
That's the value.
You can tell he's not going to put up like volume numbers.
Okay, but when he has Jordan Addison and JJ and John.
So, all right, well,
maybe Jefferson is his name. So sorry, struggle.
So then, So I'm like, okay, I have Kyler and Dak and Jordan Love. So I start to formulate, I look at your roster and I'm like, oh, he needs a quarterback. Now he's obviously going to get Daniel Jones because you're obviously need Daniel Jones, but might you prefer Dak to Daniel Jones? I think Dak is going to have a good year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start formulating trade proposals. But of course, like, my team's pretty loaded. Like I like my team a lot. And so I'm like, in order to upgrade my team, I would need to, trade you Dak and Chuba. I need to give you a starting running back. I need to put together a package that could bring Bijan to the
Hench getting on the Giants front office for not knowing who people are. His running back on his roster, he calls Chuba.
Anyway,
Chuba.
So Chuba gets garbage touchdowns at the end of every game. It's awesome. He's a stealth fantasy, like 9 yards on 7 carries, and then in the fourth quarter, he just puts 12 fantasy points up for you. So Chuba, sorry,
dump offs, right? In an attempt to rally.
He's
right?
a great garbage time running back. So he's not bad. And obviously I have Gibbs as my number one bell cow. But so then I'm like, I'm trying to come up with a trade where I can strengthen you at QB and maybe at wide receiver, and try to get Bijan. And then I just was like, this league is going to lose its fucking mind if I do a Todd Gurley. Like I was literally like, I can't even make a fucking trade proposal. People know we're friends. Like, oh God, it's going to be like fucking Shek and Hench, they do the podcast and then he fucking gave him Bijan. Like, so I was just like, fuck it. Let's let Shek have Daniel Jones and see how that goes. Then you didn't even get Daniel Jones.
I didn't get Daniel Jones. The Cool Cats are not about to lay down at 0-2. We're like the Kansas City Chiefs. We are the sleeping lion ready to pounce. Go ahead. Turn your back on us and see what happens.
But you'd rather Dak or Kyler than Stafford.
I would. And if you want to talk, we can do it on the side, or we can have that conversation like two gentlemen right now. We can have Spaghetti sort of serve as the impartial third.
As much as we love free speech, it should not extend to making people listen to two guys hammer out a fantasy football trade.
It has its limits. Yeah, you're not supposed to encourage violence, and people might really lose their minds having to listen to two old men dressed exactly alike, by the way, too, in faded brown T-shirts and black hats. That's what all the cools are wearing these days. Hey, speaking of the cools, couple things real quick, Hench, because I know you got to run. Weigh in here. I did on the new episode of Football America, by the way, thanks to everybody who's dropped a line and subscribed on podcast and watches on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Things are going well over there. We appreciate it. We just had our old pal from Shek Show and -3 and Dave Dameshek football program and all the rest of it. Knocked Nick Costos on, and it was a star turn, man. That guy is a ball of energy and insight. Go listen to that one. Plus, we do a great new uniform segment. Anyhow, I'm sorry. See, I get distracted with
no. It's okay because it reminds me as I sit here as your honored guest while you tell people who are listening to go listen to something else.
I didn't say turn off the show. I said, I told you as an aside. That's what we talked about.
If you're as bored as I am, go listen to this other thing. What that reminds me of. So last night, I'm trying to take the temperature of, how the world is weighing in on our friend Jimmy Kimmel. On Chuba and Jimmy Kimmel. And then, so then Governor Walz, talk about a ball of energy. Governor Walz is on the TV and he's talking about, he's like, and I know people are just going to move on and go watch the football game. And I was there like, oh, right, it's almost kickoff. I literally, Governor Walz gave me a
all right, maybe I've gone too far then.
Hey, guys, don't space out. They're about to kick off in Buffalo. And I was like, click. I was like, okay, you're right. And by the way, as you say it, isn't Football America redundant? Aren't they one and the same?
Maybe I was maybe I was trying to be cute, and the exclamation point should point you in that direction. Yes, we park our cars in the same garage, Hench, on that. And by the way, as opposed to the United States, football America knows no borders. Everyone's welcome in. Just care about football. That's all. Now listen to me. I started the show with a meditation on Tom Brady and why he's allowed to get away with this, and how he's very much like Humbert Humbert. It's like, well, I mean, he's dashing and handsome. Like he's not a creep, right? He's not doing anything wrong sitting up there in the headset. I mean, it's right out there in the open, everybody. I mean, how could that be wrong? It is so bogus that Tom Brady, the guy who has been ticked off. I mean, unless you're looking at Josh Gordon and his battles with the Devil's lettuce and how that damaged pro football, no one has had more scandals at their doorstep than Tom Brady. And we're at the same time, we're supposed to be like, well, I mean, come on, he's Tom Brady, everybody. He's not doing anything wrong. Like if he is the most checkered relationship with the rules this millennium in pro football. Do you want to defend this at all?
First of all, Spaghetti, do you know when he says Humbert Humbert, what he's talking about?
No, that's about 9 out of 10 references. I'm just like, okay, I'm sure it
yeah. Well, somehow. So this is
I'm being a pretentious ass. Hench,
this is how fucking elitist Dave Dameshek introduces his Tom Brady segment. Hey, you know the most famous pedophile in literary history? Now let's talk about Tom Brady. Like, what the fuck was that? What like Humbert Humbert, Tom Brady? Like, yeah, that's Humbert Humbert is the scumbag fucking Lolita. And now let's talk about Tom
You're
Brady.
You're picking up when I'm laying down. Don't be an ass.
Yeah. I now I'm like, I was all ready to fucking be on shit on Tom Brady, team shit on Tom Brady. And then I'm like, well, not if that's how we're introducing the segment. I had a funny a coworker or producer on Shifting Gears. She said to me, she goes, you know,
that's the second Shifting Gears message, Eddie Spaghetti. I want you to take note of that as he comes down on me. Should we go watch it, Hench?
Hench is a little more. He's a little more subtle with it, and it ties into the person he's talking about. So
yeah, I don't tell him to go watch it.
I set the whole thing up by saying that this is what I was talking about on Football Lamaz.
But I don't tell people to go watch Shifting Gears now. Hey man, fucking stop this podcast and listen to my show. No, so a producer on Shifting Gears comes over and she asks me. She knows. You know, I bleed Patriot, red, white, and blue, and she says, what do you think of Tom Brady like post playing days? And I was like, oh, okay. So let's differentiate. And I think what we see is Tom Brady was monomaniacal. All I care about is football and watching game film. And that's all you want in any athlete that you root for. He gets to the gym early, last guy to leave, watches game film, always prepared, you know, gets the other guys as crazy about football as he is. It was incredible. Obviously greatest athlete of all time, six Super Bowls for us, a bonus one for another team. Then he's no longer playing football. What he becomes when he stops being an athlete is a celebrity. And celebrities lose their fucking minds, man. They just do not. That world of I'm a famous person, like, and we're going to give you all this money to talk about football. Why? Because you're famous. And then we're going to do a roast. What? Because you're a famous guy. You're famous. And so Brady he's been in that world. Now he's a celebrity. So the people who know the rules do not apply to them are celebrities. So Brady does whatever he wants now as a celebrity. So I'm going to go march up to the booth. I'm going to put the headset on. You know, do I care how it looks? Who's going to stop me? I'm a celebrity. Right. There are no rules. There's no gravity. Now, I will say,
corporate approved at the highest levels, celebrity. That's the distinction, Hench. It's that who he is and who would be the people to push back. See if this sounds familiar and stuff that's going on in the rest of society. The people who we would expect the common man, the people we would expect at those highest levels of corporations and corporate America and financial class and otherwise, those people who are supposed to and in charge of the rules and all that, who are supposed to lean on Tom Brady, like, what are you going to do? Like, I mean, that's what's happening with Tom Brady. Right?
And I would say, if you look, like, the Shek stuff, that was real. He was drafted 199th. He was humble. He did say, "I'm going to make you proud, Mr. Kraft. It's going to be the best."
He was humble.
And he was humble. And then, and
that was good, Spaghetti. You like that one.
That was good. That was good.
Obviously, like, he wasn't, football's not in Kyler Murray's top 10 interests, right? I mean, Brady walked the walk. Like, he
was into Mike Vick earlier this week. Didn't you see the picture he posted?
Brady was prepared. He was super focused, super ready. And like, so that career unparalleled. And then you look at the post-playing celebrity version of Brady, who I think was a real human being for his playing days. Then the cheekbones go up, the weird face, the thin, the trim. And I know you guys are enjoying Alien Earth, which I haven't seen, but it's much more of a synthetic human being. Like, it's weird, right? It's freaky and weird. And it's like, that's not the 199th pick. Like, this is a weirdo robot celebrity freakazoid. And it's not like, so yeah, I delineate between my Lord and Savior, Tom Brady, the player, and this fucking robot weirdo who just does as he pleases. And kind of creeps us all out,
As you say that out loud, it occurs to me that there are two things. There's Alien Earth and Andor, both space age, but I believe Andor was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, whereas Alien Earth is in the future. Either way, sci-fi stuff, both more truth about our current state in this society than when you turn on the news right now. It's pretty weird. I mean, that there is more. You gain a better understanding of what's going on, I feel like. Before you run, Hench, and I wish you were here, maybe Eddie Spaghetti and he can try to, since I just put you on the spot to explain your hero. Eddie Spaghetti maybe can try and explain why Notre Dame gets to be in the top 25 at 0-2. They've played 2 games and they didn't win either one of them, but they get to stay ranked ahead of teams that haven't lost. What the hell are the rankings for? Okay, but before we get to that, unless you want to talk about that, Hench, Robert Redford, go. We've talked about him a little bit on the show over the years. Where does he come down for you? I like to talk about greatest movie star of all time. Top 3?
Well, gosh, he'd be right up there, because talk about rewatchable movies like The Sting and All the President's Men. And I think that the topical one is All the President's Men. And I think Redford kind of just like, after, it was Redford's stardom that got that movie made. He's like, this is like, he optioned the book and was like, I'm making this movie. I'm going to be Bob Woodward. And so it's wild that the definitive movie about presidential corruption starring Robert Redford, that he just finally says, fuck it. I'm going to cast off this mortal coil. There's nothing to be done now. Like, the corruption is so total. We tried occasionally to stop presidential corruption. And by the way, Johnny Carson made fun of Richard Nixon all the time. Richard Nixon would not for a fucking second in America think he could fire a late night talk show host. So it's wild that, we used to think of Richard Nixon as the most venal it could possibly get in American politics. And obviously we've blown through those guardrails, and Redford made the definitive movie and did it brilliantly. And what's that movie, if I hear that music and I look up and it's playing on cable, forget it. I'm in for 2 hours. But, Redford Bob Woodward was a Republican. So, the movie is like, yeah, I'm a Republican, but this guy's a fucking scumbag. What difference does it make that I'm a Republican? And now the teams are so calcified that if you're on one team or the other, you just have to forgive unforgivable behavior. because it's my team. Like, it's like, it's like, hey, Mookie Betts shot that guy in the parking lot. Hey man, it's my team. What am I supposed to do? Like, what? I got to root for him. Like, there's the lack of moral fiber and kind of like first principles. So All the President's Men, incredible. The Sting, incredible. The Natural, unbelievable. And he was,
well, by the way, speak about black and white morality. That The Natural, that is the story of that picture too. Memo v Glenn Close. The two sides, and then the woman who shoots him, obviously too. But I was wrong. I have met you before.
And the nice thing about that movie is he can throw a baseball.
The reason I think The Natural is the best baseball movie. Slapshot is the best hockey movie, and in the top 3, along with The Natural. And Hoosiers, because like we've said, the craziest thing about that movie is not that those high school kids look like basketball players. They look like basketball players in 1952. They moved, who they brought in, the technical expert or whatever. Maybe it was Kevin Hench's forefather or Bob Cousy or something like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if we found out Bob Cousy was in fact Kevin Hench's great grandfather. But either way, that dribbling in front of you kind of thing, bent over, and the two-handed set shot and all that crap, that those guys mastered that. I know that there are some things that people can get sideways with. I know a lot of, like, Paul George, when he was on the Pacers, did not like wearing those Hickory Huskers uniforms because it connotes something about who they beat in South Bend and demonizing those guys up there and all that. But anyway, yeah, the sports element of it I think that's my top 3 sports
Well,
movies.
It's funny. Another Redford film that's awesome is 3 Days of the Condor.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good. But if you think about it in the context of now, it's like he gets the story to the New York Times. Like he survives long enough to get the story to the New York Times. And now the New York Times would look at the story and go, no, thanks. No, thanks. This sounds like it would get us in trouble. This sounds like, oh, no. We don't need to defend a lawsuit. Thanks for all your sacrifice for freedom. But no, thanks. So yeah, Redford obviously walking the walk.
For no need to make this somehow like an either or, as Robert Redford moves on to be with his pal Paul Newman. Whose career would you rather have, Paul Newman or Robert Redford's?
Well, I will say this: the Doc Hudson Cars cherry on top of for Paul Newman, who obviously has a spectacular career on camera, for him to end it, for him to sort of semi-retire from showbiz to be a professional auto racer, and then play Doc Hudson, the legend auto racer in Cars. I think that would break the tie for me between
Nobody's Fool. Talk about late stage movies. Road to Perdition and Nobody's Fool are gems. They're spectacular.
And I saw The Verdict within the last year completely holds up. So you can't go wrong. And obviously the two of them together.
I think what's cool is just to be self-aware enough. You hear the story, the famous story about Robert Redford not understanding what it is to be, that he's so handsome. Mike Nichols is like, you can't be in The Graduate, man. Like, you're too handsome. You can't relate to the character. Like, I'm a regular guy, man. Like, is a woman ever said no to you on a date or otherwise? Like, can't relate to it. I like that it comes full circle, or at least it seems to, when he's connecting with the version of the 21st century version of him, which is Brad Pitt, and they make that movie Spy Game or whatever.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I just like the idea of these two guys who what they must say to each other, like, how about this life, huh? Like, nobody on the planet Earth knows what it's like except the two of us. Am I right? All right, Hench, let's talk. If not before, I mean, we got to catch up because we are hurtling towards Red Sox and Yankees in the American League playoffs. Maybe if we catch a break here on the show, maybe they'll go head to head. That would be fun to talk about, right?
Shek not paying attention to baseball, which nobody can
What?
blame a Pirates fan for that. The Red Sox are not making the playoffs.
They're
Like,
not? I thought they were in. I looked it up a few days ago.
They were 8.5 games ahead of the Guardians on September 2nd. They beat the Guardians to up 8.5 games on September 2nd. They've leaked almost the entirety of that 8.5 game lead. They have no players. Roman Anthony tore his oblique. Willie Abreu tore his calf. They were already
Roman Anthony tore his oblique. I've been completely.
Oh my God! Roman Anthony took Paul Skeens deep, and then the season ended for the Red Sox. So we're sending out a AAA lineup every day.
Oh no!
With Alex Bregman, who is statistically the worst hitter in baseball for the last month. Alex Bregman. Think about this late in the season, you know how hard it is for your batting average to really dip this late in the season? Alex Bregman's batting average has fallen 39 points in 24 days. He's having one of the most incredible chokes, but he's obviously a good guy and people like him and the Red Sox want to re-sign him. So it's like, hey, can we just ignore the fact that Alex Bregman is leading a choke that is going to supersede 2011 Chicken and Beer and 1978 in terms of September? This choke statistically is going to they were 8.5 games up on September 2nd, and the Guardians are going to blow by them. By the way, the Guardians don't have any players. The Guardians lost a starter and their closer in this gambling probe, and the Red Sox are choking, and they're a very likable team. You know, everyone's in on them, but it's like the choke is catastrophic. Cedar Rafaela can't hit the ball, can't make contact with the ball. And when he does, it's a pop-up to the infield. It's humiliating. It's embarrassing. The booth doesn't want to invoke all these historic chokes. Like, it's hard to have a historic collapse in Boston when your whole history is collapsing historically. Like, it's unfucking believable. And nobody wants to mention it. The fucking choking that is going on. You know, now I always say this: shitty players can't choke. They just suck. You're not choking, you suck. Alex Bregman is choking. He can't find grass. He can't get a hit. He takes strikes and swings at balls. That's choking. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're choking. I wish you were getting hits. But the reality is, when it matters most and you play worse than you've ever played in your life, we have a word for that when we talk about sports. It's called fucking choking. I'm sorry.
It's fascinating. I can get into sort of the emotional state that must overwhelm guys when they can't get a hit in the major leagues, and especially when you see those shots from, you know, the catcher cam or the ump cam or whatever, and how quickly obviously you have to make the decision from the, you know, as the guy's hand gets up over his shoulder to the time you better make a decision if you're going to take a cut. I can get into how, like, you would just completely tie yourself up mentally if you start getting into a cold snap with, like, the decisions you have to make. Like, if you're a goalie and you're, boy, man, I can't stop the puck. At least the puck might just hit you. There's like a 2/3 chance if the puck is shot on goal, it's going to connect with you. That bat hitting the ball just because you hack at it is not likely to make contact with the wood. I feel bad for the guys when they start to spiral on that level. Well, I feel bad for you too.
You know, Peyton Manning said, you know, famously, he was like, halftime adjustments. Like, we would just eat an orange. Like, we'd eat a slice of orange and go back out there. Like, hey, what are these halftime adjustments everyone's talking about? And I thought it was like so candid and like revelatory, like, oh, these bloviating jackasses are just making up a thing that doesn't really exist.
So
you have 12 minutes, you know. And the thing that I see over and over again in baseball, you know, is they're guessing. They're guessing. Like when the guy takes strike 3 down the middle on a fastball, he was guessing. And then he didn't get the pitch he was guessing on. And you hear about guys, you know, you pick up the spin, you see the spin, and then you know immediately if it's this pitch or this pitch. And if it's got this spin, Now, if it's coming at your head, you have to hang in because you've picked up the spin, so you can't bail. And it's like, I feel like we need almost like a Jose Canseco level of candor with steroids. We just need someone to say, like, everybody's guessing all the time and nobody's fucking picked up spin.
I definitely agree. I really agree that you are trying to, I think it maybe you can, real basically go like, I'm just going to look for a fastball here. And I can feel like, because I can't wait on that. And so I have to be ready. And maybe as my consolation prize, I can put a bat on a breaking ball to keep the at bat alive, kind of thing. I think that's the vast majority of what those guys are up there doing. I think the same thing about soccer. Oh man, bend it like Beckham. If they could stand there and bend it in the same spot of the goal 9 times out of 10, I would be more impressed. Although I did see a thing in the last few months where one of those Brazilian cats who, one of the legends with the one name, just kept backing up. I think it was Neymar, just kept backing up further and further from the goal and just kept hitting the crossbar. Like you couldn't back him up far enough from him not being able to hit the crossbar, that kind of thing. So maybe that debunks what I just said.
I don't fucking care about sports memorabilia. I see your backdrop with all that cute stuff. Great.
Thank you for attacking me. I appreciate that you built that into your announcement.
I'm not into it. So
I'm not into the bullshit that you've filled an entire room with. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe if you would have won a title game in Denver, you would want to do it like the Pittsburgh Steelers did. Sorry, Tom Brady failed in Denver.
On the Boston text thread, there's a lot of like, we got to buy that. We got to get one of those. Like, I was like, all right, I'm not, we got to. And so, but I am considering, I have a Brady jersey. I have a Kevin Garnett jersey, but not,
But you hate that shit though.
I gotta go. Oh, I should get a Peyton Pritchard jersey. I love that guy. And then I'm like, where am I going to wear that? Well, why? Anyway, but I'm considering, you guys can tell me this is a good idea. So you mentioned Neymar, right? So you got all the legends, Pele, Neymar.
What have I done, Spaghetti? What did
Brazilian Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Garincha. They're all, one name Brazilian stars. There's a Brazilian player in the EPL now, goes by one name, Kevin.
Now you got it.
That's good.
I gotta get it, right?
You must do that.
I get it.
You've come a long way, Kevin Hench. Literally, when I met him, we did a fantasy draft, and he said, I dropped them off or whatever. He's like, my apartment, everybody lives in a 1-bedroom crap hole, when they're coming up. And I went to Hench's place, and I was struck by the fact in his bare white walls. Like, I'm an aesthete, so I would get good, at least, framed posters, whatever. I'd put them on my walls to dress it up a little bit. Eddie Spaghetti knows what I'm talking about. He does a little of that too.
Yeah,
I do.
You got your Lolita poster.
I do have a Lolita poster, as a matter of fact. Hench had all of his ball caps, and there were a lot of them, like 20 or 30 ball caps, each given its own nail put into the white wall of the apartment. That was how he decorated his 1-bedroom apartment. Now look at him, seated up high, all over show business. Last thing before you go, final score.
If you think I did that, you're out of your fucking mind.
Who did that?
My bride.
that was her fix to your 1-bedroom, getting out the hammer and nail. Did you watch her do it?
I'm sure I just can't.
Honey, like, get out of the way. I'm trying to watch All the President's Men for the 198th time.
These fucking hats. I can't take it anymore.
Final score, Patriots and Steelers.
You have to pick who wins or just the score?
Let's go all the way. Let's okay. May as well do it.
24-23 Steelers on a missed extra point by the fucking idiot kicker that we wasted a draft pick on. Like we draft a kicker, and Aurora Borealis. That's
his name?
Borealis, yeah, Andy Borealis. But he essentially ties the other guy in the tryout. It's like, okay, Parker Romo. It's a split decision, but obviously we got to go with the guy we wasted a draft pick on. Like we can't go like, we drafted this guy and we're going to go with this other guy. So we picked the guy we drafted. Parker Romo goes to Atlanta and goes 5 for 5. Of course, he's going 5 for 5 for the Falcons. Borregales, Patriots march down, score, touchdown. Drake May I think the first one was to Pop Douglas, and the second one's to Kayshon Boutte. He misses both extra points. So it's 12-zip, but you feel like you're losing. You're like, oh my God, we do not have a kicker. He can't make an extra point. So then toward the end of the game, 4th and 2, it would be a 48-yarder. We're going to go for it. Then another false start on the fucking totally undisciplined, poorly coached Patriots. I thought all this stuff would get cleaned up with Vrabel. Taught lots of pre-snap penalties, sign of great coaching, shitloads of pre-snap penalties. You guys are a real tight unit. So now it's 4th and 7. You don't want to go for it on 4th and 7, but now you got to send the guy out for the 53-yarder. And it's like, well, he can't make an extra point. Maybe this is his specialty, big leg. He makes the 53-yarder. And you're like, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe we do have a kicker. And then that 90 seconds where you thought you had a kicker, he comes out for the ensuing kickoff and misses the landing zone. He lands it short of the landing zone. The flag goes up, and it's like, oh, we don't have a kicker. So 24-23, everyone's like, this game's going in overtime. The Patriots kicker, second kicker flame out that they've drafted, misses an extra point. Steelers go to 2-1, and the Patriots fall to 1-2.
I mean, I can throw crap against the wall, or I can throw my ball caps against the wall and see if they fall onto a nail. I mean, it's same thing as your Patriots kicker, and you could still have Nick Folk, who really is the number one reason for all the swooning. Like Eddie Spaghetti said, a lot of people came away from week 1 watching that Steelers game. Boy, the defense didn't look good, but Aaron Rodgers did 4 touchdown passes and all of that. I know I am trying to validate my priors, but when I say this, but I did say in the moment, like, a lot of run after catch with DK Metcalf and otherwise, effective in the second half, but so too was Justin Fields. The difference in that week 1 game was Chris Boswell making a 56 and 60-yard field goals, and Nick Folk missing an extra point that required them to go for 2 in the second half, which they missed, and that's the margin of victory there. The kickers have so much value or impact the way we regard these teams, especially with the limited sample size we have these 2 weeks here. So I don't know, maybe Chris Boswell will make a long one and your rookie won't, and that'll be the difference. But I think that's what it comes down to.
He ain't going to miss a long one because he never does. Yeah. Unless you're playing the Cowboys, you have a huge advantage at kicker.
All right. Great stuff, Kevin Hench. Hope we'll talk sooner rather than later. Go get him out there, fella. The great Kevin Hench, everybody. What do you say, Eddie Spaghetti? You want to take a quick bite at that Notre Dame apple 0-2, or you
I must.
not up? Well, you don't have to defend it.
I mean, I'm not defending it. The reason why they're still the reason why they're ranked is because, as we talked about a lot last year and many years, is that the rankings are kind of useless, and what they are saying is we think this team has a lot of talent on their roster, so we're going to leave them ranked because we know they potentially could beat most of the team. Although not even sure of that anymore because of their defensive play, but they think they could beat a number of other ranked teams, and they're better than other unranked teams. And fairness to Notre Dame also, like the last time they played an unranked opponent, and they're playing Purdue this weekend, was November 14th of last year. I think they played USC. So they've had a stretch run of just playing only ranked teams, and their 2 losses are by a combined 4 points. 1 game on the road and terrible rainy conditions. I was there. I could say that firsthand with their 19-year-old freshman quarterback who's never had a start before. But yeah, the team just is not the same Notre Dame team that was, we saw from the Marshall loss last year to the first drive of the national championship. You can make the case they were the most dominant / best team in college football. They were winning games in the trenches, and if it didn't matter if Riley Leonard wasn't really a great pocket passer because he could run the ball, and then plus you got a guy named Jeremiah Love behind him. Offensive line not the same this year. Defensive line definitely not the same this year. They cannot rush 4, and it's just they're giving up so many yards, and just they lost a lot of guys. Do I think they're going to be okay in the future because of CJ Carr? I do. I think they're going to be finally a quarterback-driven team instead of just having to worry about the quarterback being kind of behind the talent, the rest of the roster. So it's a different, era with Marcus Raymond, who slowly is going to get his guys in here, which is a good thing. But I had a lot of expectations, and I'm pretty upset and distraught over it. But who knows how this? I don't think there's going to be a undefeated team this year, which will help. And I think if they run the table, they should still be in the mix for being a top 12, hopefully college playoff team. And if
Well,
not, it is what it is.
I will tell you, track down, I'm going to do it again, Football America, because we had Jeff Schwartz on to start the week, and he made the case of optimism for Notre Dame. He thinks they're getting into the playoff because he thinks the Irish are about to run the table.
Yeah.
I think they get back on track if they hammer Purdue, which they should. It's
They
not
will,
like
but
it's not a cupcake schedule the rest of the way, but it is breezier. The worst part is obviously already over for them. They got to take care of SC, Arkansas too, right? Are they?
Yeah, they have Arkansas, like NC State, Stanford, SC. I think they have Boston College again this year. I think there's Syracuse.
Well, and then also the other point that Schwartz made is that go and tick through. They're 12 slots, so who's consuming them? The ACC has done itself in. Clemson
losing, yeah.
So there is still a case to be made. I guess the bottom line is that it's early.
The reason why I'm not super jacked up over it is like I don't see this team is not nearly as good as they were last year, and that's the problem. They just had better. They had the upperclassmen and just the depth they had. It does not here anymore. I mean, yes, like receiver wise, are they better? Sure. Quarterback, like throwing wise, is CJ Carr way more talented than Riley Leonard? Like, of course. Like I thought Jeremiah Love would be in the Heisman conversation, and then Jadarian Price behind him, who's probably outplayed him this year so far. But it's again because the offensive line is not really doing their job, and the defensive line, Marcus Freeman is dead set on only rushing four, not blitzing, and then not blitzing is costing them because Carson Beck had all the time in the world, and A&M carving them up. I've never seen a team do that to Notre Dame in the first half, passing it like the passing attack. I'm not used to this whatsoever. So it's just not the feel is gone because you don't think they're not a serious contender. It's gonna end up being probably one of it could be Miami. Who knows? They have a lot of dudes on that team, but it most likely end up being a Big Ten team this year. I mean, maybe LSU, but I kind of just I'm very deflated. I no longer really care about football, so I'm not really jacked up at all about hockey either. Although I did actually have a request for you. I don't know if you tweeted this. My apology, I have not seen it, but I wanted you to do a uniform and grade for the Rangers Centennial uniform. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
No, let's do that on the next
Okay,
one, and we'll
okay.
make that a part of our hockey launch. We'll do that because
Perfect.
the one thing I will say about hockey is because now they're in camp and everything, it does seem like this dust up about like Crosby wants out has once again been tamped right back down by 87 himself. So hopefully,
Well, it was a dumb. I mean, I don't know who decided to do that, but why would your agent bring that up? Like, that's
completely
nuts.
agree.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they don't have those conversations, but ultimately Crosby is not going to want to be moved out of Pittsburgh is the bottom line. It's not like he's immune to feelings of a human being. And I'm sure somebody close to him might mention that. Now, the intrigue is Geno Malkin has indicated as of Friday morning that he might be willing to remove his no trade clause, which would really be a benefit to Pittsburgh and to the end of his career. But anyway, all right, listen. We've gone a long way, more than an hour. We hear you out there asking for more Shek Show. We appreciate you dropping us a line. In the meantime, I'm turning gears with Kevin Hench. I think that came up.
Shifting.
I don't even turning gears. See, that's in my.
You won't like that.
No. Well, he doesn't have to know. Don't tell him that. I made him shifting gears, of course, as it was mentioned. What, like 24 times over the course of the last hour? At least 24 times. Came up. Check that one out. Make sure you're subscribed. Appreciate you subscribing to Football America. Nick Costos' great show. Make sure you're tracking that down. A real mensch to join us on Football America. Jeff Schwartz is smarter than you. Also, the YouTube page is great. Football America. Go over there. But we appreciate your commitment to Shek Show here and your interest in hearing it. We'll continue to try to make it for you as long as you guys keep tapping into it. So thanks for that. And until next time, thanks so much, sports fans. It's been a thin slice of heaven.